Hey guys, it's Carol from Cape Cod Cottage Garden, and today we're going to talk about step 2 into preparing your garden beds for planting. Let's go! So if you want to watch step 1 to this little series I'm doing on preparing your beds for planting, you can check it out. I'll put the link above and it'll be down in the description too. So the step 2 is what I really like to do is I like to test my soil. Now, I'm not sponsored by this company at all. I just bought this off of Amazon. But if you're curious, this is the soil test I use. You can take a little screenshot of that if you want. And it's really easy to do. It just requires you digging down a little bit, taking a good sample of the soil, mixing it in this fluid, covering it up, putting in this little envelope that's already stamped and mailing it off. And in about a week, you will get the results. If I can figure out a way to show you my results from my computer, I will. Most of my beds were in good condition. Now, I don't do every bed every year just because of cost reasons. It's not very expensive, but I have a lot of beds. So I don't do every bed every year. I kind of pick and choose and go from there. And like some beds, which I know, like a heavy feed is like my onion bed and stuff like that, I'll know to do one there because I know I'll have to amend. But one of the reasons to do the soil test is I don't like to put too much junk in my soil because you can always add, but you can't take away. So for instance, a lot of times people just do this very balanced mixed fertilizer all over their beds. And, you know, it might be really up here in phosphorus and really down here in nitrogen. And really all they need is nitrogen. So when you're putting like an all-purpose fertilizer on your beds, you know, you might have your phosphorus go way up here, you know, and your nitrogen might just come up a little bit. So like, for example, in this bed, I didn't need anything but nitrogen. So I'm just going to put some blood meal. I'm going to top off my bed, but when I do, I'm just going to add some blood meal for the nitrogen, and that's it. I'm not going to add anything else. Of course, we all know the way to get gorgeous plants and vegetables in your garden starts at the ground level. It's all about the soil, then the water, then the sun. But the soil is the main thing. So if there's anywhere you're going to skimp on, I wouldn't skimp on the soil. So I am not sponsored by this company, Coastal Maine. It just happens to be local to us. And I do think it is sold nationwide, but I'm not sure. But I use their raised bed garden mix. It's the castine blend. And it has like lobster and crab and kelp meal and worm castings and mycorrhizae. I can never say that word correctly, but and compost. So I've had really good luck with this. It's always fantastic. So I use that. I buy it in the 2 cubic foot bags and I top off all my beds. It's not inexpensive. But if I'm spending all this time and energy starting all these seedlings just to put them in terrible soil and watch them not thrive, that's more wasteful in my opinion. And also, I want to apologize for the wind noise. As you know, we're in the middle of the renovation and I can't find my mics anywhere, and the wind just picked up. But we have a glorious day here on Cape Cod today. It is 59 degrees currently, but it was in this a little bit in the low 60s earlier today. So while it's nice out, I just got dirt in my eyes. Blooper, the wind. Anyways, and we're supposed to get a boatload of rain tonight, which we desperately need. So I'm going to top off these beds now before these bags get saturated in water and I won't be able to lift them up. So let's do it. So let me just take a minute to show you how gorgeous this soil is. First of all, I always smell it. I don't know why, but I've had some foul smelling soil before. This does not smell foul at all. Look at how gorgeous it is. That is some pretty garden soil. Yeah. So you don't have to fill your beds to the tippity top. I mean, this stuff is quite pricey. So you want to get a good 2 to 3 new inches of soil on the top just to feed the beds. But you know, most plants don't need any more than really 6 to 12 inches deep, at most 12. So you don't have to have like 20 inches of soil because most annual plants like vegetables don't require that kind of depth. I plan on putting my peas in this bed. This is the bed. This is the long bed at bed number 1 at the end of my garden with the fencing like this at the end where I grow all my peas. I usually do like a 20-foot row of peas. I'm going to be putting those in probably this week or at the end of this week. So I really wanted to get this bed done before the rain. Anyway, guys, the wind is really picking up. So I might have to just put some music while I do this for you guys. You can watch me work while I play the music in the background, because that wind noise is going to be so distracting without my mic. But, so I say that bed 1 is complete, so I can put my peas in the ground. And also, the thing about bed 1, it's my shadiest bed, so that's where I put my early season peas and like my lettuce and stuff like that, things that like the cold, because even when the sun really starts to get hot, it's a little bit shady here, so they're protected from the super, super hot. I don't know, it just seems like 2 weeks ago we had snow on the ground and now it was 60 degrees, and that's the way it happens. Next thing we know, it'll be 80, which, come on, bring it on, I'm happy. So I'm gonna keep going with the rest of the beds. Okay guys, bed 2 is done. Bed 2 is where the last couple of years I grew my carrots and my onions. Very heavy feeders, especially the onions. So this came back a little low in nitrogen. So I'm not gonna do it right now, but when I'm ready to plant my onions and carrots, which won't be too long from now, I will add something with the heavy nitrogen in it, like a blood meal or something, and I'll just rake it into the top when I'm planting. But for now, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna plant my carrots in this bed because I never plant my carrots in a bed with freshly topped off and fertilized soil. Carrots don't like a nutrient-rich soil. If they get too many nutrients, they grow all wonky. They'll come out with like 3 different legs and they look all twisty-turny and they don't grow nice and long and straight. They like a soil that's been sitting for a little bit and not too rich. So what I'm gonna do with this bed number 3 is I'm not gonna top this off at all. I'm not gonna add any kind of fertilizer or anything to it, and I'm gonna plant my carrots over here. I might not take up the whole bed, so I might just do like a half and half thing. So that's why I'm skipping bed number 3. So let's move on to 4. So bed number 4 is done. Bed number 4 didn't really need a lot of soil, actually. It was pretty full to the top. I might add a little fertilizer to this bed. I gotta go back and refer to my computer and see what this bed read out for, what it needed as far as nutrients went. Last year I planted my broccoli and Brussels sprouts in this bed, and I've decided this year I'm not growing broccoli or Brussels sprouts. So this is the first for me. I really wanted the extra room to grow some tomatoes and other things that I was interested in trying. So the broccoli and Brussels sprouts, they take up a lot of room, and especially the Brussels sprouts take a long, long time to develop. So they pretty much take up this bed almost all summer. So I have this whole bed. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, probably more tomatoes, but we'll see what I decide to use this bed for. I'm just grateful to have the extra space. So this is bed number 5, the bed where I usually grow a lot of my tomatoes along that side. I have that string system all set up, but also I'm growing my garlic here. I don't know if you can see, I'll bring you in for a little closer. You can see my garlic is really starting to emerge. So what I did is I only used like a half a bag on bed 4, and I'm gonna take that other half a bag and kind of just spread it out. It's a pretty full bed, but I want to give it a little bit of fresh soil, so I'm going to use the rest of this bag. I'm trying to be conservative and just top dress this bed a little bit, trying not to bury my garlic too much. Before I do that, let me just take the camera off and show you the garlic. Okay guys, again, I apologize about the wind, but it doesn't seem to want to stop, so I hope you can hear me okay. But here's my garlic. It actually started emerging very, very early, and then we got such a cold winter that the tops got kind of nipped off and it went back to the ground again. But it's emerging now, so I'm happy. This is the first time I'm actually growing hard neck garlic. Last year I grew soft neck garlic just because I was too late when I went to buy the garlic bulbs. This is the variety Music, so I'm hoping for some great success with this hard neck garlic. So that's bed 5 done. And one note about these beds, these are 8 feet long and 3 feet wide. When I built this garden, my intention was to have room on either side to manage these beds. I'm only 5 foot tall, if I'm maybe 5'1" if I'm lucky. So when I have to reach way across there, it is difficult because the way we ended up having to put the fence in didn't allow us to have space on that side. So if you're planning your garden, make sure if you're gonna have anything more than a 2-foot bed, make sure you can access it from both sides, because I do struggle reaching on the other side of this bed. But it is what it is, so learn from my mistakes. This is bed 6, which is just to the right of my garden bench. Last year I have my my bunching onions, my chives down this end, and last year this is where that spoon tomato volunteered and took over the whole bed. So as soon as I see any spoon tomatoes emerging this year, I'm gonna pull them because it really took over this bed, and everything else I planted in this bed suffered, besides the celery. The celery did okay. And I also planted my Jacky Little pumpkins here, which I plan on growing again. Those were adorable. So guys, just one more vegetable garden bed to get done, bed number 7. I'm hoping to get it done before this wind gets any worse. It's starting to get crazy here. Okay guys, this is the last bed. It's to the right of the garden gate. When we're done, I'll give you an overview of the whole garden in case you're not familiar with my garden layout. But this is bed number 7. It is an L-shaped bed. It is 2 feet wide and probably, I don't know, 8 feet this way and 4 feet this way. I'm not exactly sure. But this is where I grow more tomatoes along the back. I grew my butternut squash here, some herbs. I have rosemary right here that's looking pretty sad. I don't know if it's gonna bounce back. It looks pretty dead, but I don't know. It still smells fabulous. I'm gonna leave it in the ground for now and see if it makes it. It was a very cold winter, so maybe not. So I also plant peppers in here, some basil, but this is also where I had a volunteer ground cherry, another plant I'm not growing this year. It was like this big and took over the whole garden. And let me tell you, I'm still picking out ground cherries in the husk out of this place. So if one emerges, I'm gonna be pulling it this year so I can utilize this bed for the vegetables that I want. This is the last vegetable bed, so let's get it done. Okay guys, hopefully the wind won't be too bad, but here is the entrance to my garden. I have my cut flower beds on the outside, my trellis with my 2 roses. I have a Generous Gardener and a James Galway, both David Austin. This was planted by a bare root last year, and this was 2 years old, so you can see how much it grew. So let's take a look at the garden. So it's all topped off, and don't mind, I still have all my irrigation. I didn't put it in yet because I knew I wanted to top off the beds. So we have garden bed along the back. That's number 1. Number 2 we did together. Number 3 is the one I skipped where I'm going to plant my carrots. Number 4. Number 5 is the bed with the tomatoes and the garlic. That's usually where I put that. And you can see how I string up my tomatoes. That's garden bed number 5. And this is number 6 with usually my pumpkins, my celery, my scallions and chives. And number 7, where I do more tomatoes and peppers, basil, butternut squash, and that type of thing. So that's it, guys. I'm really happy I got this done. We're gonna have a lot of rain tonight. Let's take a look at the flower beds because those need topping off too. So here are my flower boxes. These 2 boxes were new last year. That's number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 is on the other side of the arbor. And last year, this is where I grew all my cut flowers. This year, I decided, I don't know, on a whim to transfer all of my strawberries from my green stalk into this bed. And you know what, guys? I'm already regretting it. Because I have so many flowers coming that I don't know if that was a really good choice. And I don't know, they just don't look that great. We had a real, oh, wait a minute. There is some green emerging, but, oh yeah, there's green. But I didn't think this through because I think the chipmunks and the other happy little animals are gonna have a field day with this. I might have to cover it somehow because it's right at ground level. Well, I mean, they'd have to climb up, but they can climb under. So, unlike my vegetable garden bed, which is protected by hardware cloth, even goes under the ground, these are not. So I do have the rabbit fence going around my entire property, but those little mice and moles and chipmunks can get in here easily. So let's go ahead. You can see how much the soil has gone down here. So, oh, and look at that. Oh, little dahlia tuber that got left behind. Last year I had a disaster with my dahlias. I spent tons of money on these beautiful dahlias and not one of them came up. But my old cheap ones that I had from the year before came up beautiful. But I'll link that video above and you can see how It was my biggest financial loss in the garden yet. So let's get these filled up. In flower bed number 3, I do have 2 perennials that I planted here a while ago, and they're starting to emerge. This is perennial scabiosa. I might move these this year just because I'm gonna need the room, but they're happy right now, so I'm just gonna leave them for now. Okay guys, flower beds are topped off. Isn't it so nice when you put in fresh soil how gorgeous it looks? I didn't film it because it was just more of the same. So guys, that's gonna, here comes the wind. I could have got this done in 10 minutes if it wasn't for the wind. So I really hope you're enjoying this little mini series that I'm doing about getting your garden beds ready for planting. It just feels so good to get back outside and get our hands in the soil. And I hope that you guys are out there doing the same thing. So next time in this little mini series, I think that I'll talk about staking and support systems for your vegetables, the different ways I choose to do it. Of course, my way is not the right way. It's just to give you some general ideas of, you know, what really does better with staking and what plants you can get away with not staking, for example. So I think that might be the next video, but we'll see where my brain takes me. So again, thanks so much for joining me today. And until next time, get out there and grow. Bye. Oh, there's a plane. Now there's a plane. There's been a lot of interruptions today. I'll just sit here and make faces at myself. Now here comes the wind. I can't win. Ah, but at least I'm in short sleeves. Gonna be a lot of editing on this one. So I hope you guys are going. Oh my God. Wind. I can only laugh. Now I've completely forgotten my train of thought.